Okay, so today I wanted to make a Chinese buckwheat jelly noodle called Gua Gua. It is from the Gansu province in China, which is kind of northwest-ish. A lot of additional territory in China, but this particular dish though is a very it's like a breakfast type meal, and it's quite a hearty meal because they will slather on, you know, chili oil, sesame paste, garlic, vinegar, you know, all of that good stuff on it. So we're going to try to make it healthy and whole food plant-based today. as much as we can, starting off with the noodles. If you see how they make the noodles, they try to harvest most of the starch from the buckwheat. I do think that they let a little bit of the fibers and the grains go through, so it's not totally just like a starch noodle, but usually what they'll do is they'll grind it up, they'll wait until the starch settles, and then they'll take the starch and make the jelly noodles from that. You can always tell the difference, like especially with Chinese noodles. Sometimes they'll say buckwheat noodle, but what they mean is buckwheat jelly, or sometimes they'll say like mung bean noodles, but what they mean is mung bean jelly noodles. How you can tell the difference between a jelly noodle and a noodle that is made from the flour itself, which is just, you know, ground up buckwheat or ground up wheat. The jelly noodles are kind of more clear. They will have that gelatinous jelly texture. But yeah, it is more clear, if that makes sense. It's not completely transparent, but it will be more clear. Versus if you see like buckwheat jelly noodles versus buckwheat noodles, it'll be dark. Like it'll be, you know, pretty much the color of buckwheat. You won't be able to see through it because there's all of that fiber, there's all of that buckwheat in it. So that's easily how you can tell that. So when you take a look at these types of noodles in China, they're a little bit of a mix between like a jelly noodle and letting some of that fiber through. But we're gonna put, like, why strain it out? We're gonna put all of that fiber through. Yeah, I think the texture is gonna be a wee bit different, but it'll be, you know, it'll be fibrous and really good for you too. And yeah, we'll try it out at the end. I'm sure it'll be perfect and great. So yeah, this is when you would normally strain out the pulp of the buckwheat and then let the starches kind of sink to the bottom. But we are going to, obviously we're going to do it with the whole buckwheat, which is all the better because it's so much easier. So now we're just going to heat this up. I'd say cook it for about 25-30 minutes. I mean, sometimes they cook it for a really long time. But we'll play it by ear. We're gonna have it get quite thick, and then hopefully it'll have the crust on the outside of this cast iron pan, and then we can use the crusts, the crunchy bits that form, and then we're gonna add it to the noodles as well. Just be careful once it does start boiling, because with thick liquid, it can splatter. It does hurt. But you can see as you cook it, as it starts to kind of gelatinize, you get these small chunks first. this is about 10 minutes. It's gotten pretty smooth, but the longer that you do it, obviously, the thicker that texture is going to be when it sets. Okay, so I have this on low heat, and I'm just kind of toasting up the insides just to make sure that I have some nice crackly bits to put over my noodles, I guess, later. Okay, so there's different versions of this. Some of them will use the kind of the jelly scraper, and then they'll scrape this part. You might use, something like this, and it's supposed to, you're supposed to get the little jelly noodles like that. Okay, but we're not really doing that today. Simply, and this is why I like it, you're simply just gonna rip it up. And it's just kind of like a kind of super hearty morning breakfast, and they'll usually have it with some almond, they call it almond tea, but it's kind of like it's like an almond milk that they'll just have it with. Okay, so I think originally it didn't look so good, but once you kind of shred it up, it's actually quite hearty, quite nice. I have some, this is not a chili oil, but this is like a whole food Chinese kind of chili sauce that I made. And we'll put it for a different recipe later, but you can go ahead with some chili oil, but it's just a lot of different flavors in there. This is just some sesame paste. So my chili sauce already had kind of like a whole food soy sauce in there, but if you didn't have that sauce, obviously you can put in some salt right in here. So now how they would serve it on the street. Normally they have these bags like this. Not that I'm advocating for it, but they'll do something like this so that the plate doesn't get dirty, and you can really quickly change out the bag. So there you go. This is like a proper Tianshui or like Gansu province breakfast. So you have your almond milk, you have your Gua Gua. I mean, taste-wise, it is like a jelly noodle. I mean, even though we use more than just the starch, it's just like a, I don't know, it's like a softer jelly noodle. It's quite nice. It has like dan dan noodle vibes because of the tahini, and all of the flavors are generally, you know, they're quite close. They have some garlic, some like vinegar and you know, sugar and something salty, something spicy. So a lot of it is quite similar.